Michelle Castle with Guild Mortgage in Sherman, Texas, talking today about working smarter, not harder, by creating customers for life with good follow-up, good engagement, providing great educational content, and making sure that you stay in touch and maintain a great relationship, not just for that transaction, but for the rest of the client's life. The key to a referral-based business is really staying connected, staying engaged, and staying in communication with your clients and reminding them that you're always there for them, their friends, their family, their coworkers, or any strangers they might meet on the street. For years and years and years, I have always just kept up with everybody in a spiral notebook, which meant I really wasn't keeping up with anybody because, spiral notebook after spiral notebook, you had a collection of spiral notebook. And seriously, you can't go and alphabetize a list on a spiral notebook. So really keeping up with who I had done business with in the past was nearly impossible. I did have spreadsheets, and I did a pretty decent job of keeping up with everybody on spreadsheets. And honestly, spreadsheets is one good way of keeping up with your clients because you can always sort a spreadsheet. You can create tabs for spreadsheets. And then there's CRMs that exist, and there's quite a few. Hundreds of CRMs that you can use to keep up with this information. But for years, I did not do anything other than spiral notebooks. Then I graduated to Excel spreadsheets. And that was how I kept up with who I was going to send Christmas cards to, who I was going to reach out to for birthdays, although I really didn't. Because the one thing spreadsheets can't do is remind you of who to reach out to. So all it is just a way of storing information. However, you guys understand that, the products that we have to sell are houses, but it's really us that people are buying. They're buying a relationship with us. They're paying for our services because honestly, they could call hundreds of different realtors to provide those services. They choose to work with us because of a connection. And staying connected with our clients is super important in building a business. But it's also one of the hardest jobs I think that we have. It's easy to answer the phone. It's easy to answer a text message, and it's easy to remember a client that you're currently working with right now because they're in front of you. You're not having to remember. And honestly, we've all got so much going on, it's hard to remember to stay connected. I know each and every one of you guys have had some clients that you've worked with and you so enjoyed working with them and you had good intentions of staying in touch with them because you formed a relationship. You really felt a connection, but we all get busy. And it's hard to remember everybody that we had that connection with until we hear from them again. What I want to talk to you guys about today is some ways that you can stay connected in an authentic way. And it's not that you need the systems to continue relationship in a non-authentic way. You utilize the tools and resources available to you to stay connected because you authentically and truly want to stay connected with these people that you have built a relationship with. So we're going to talk about keeping those clients for life. You and I know that it is very expensive to pay for leads. It is very expensive to market and get our phones to ring. It is very expensive to even pay for signs to get put out into the yards because not only are you paying for the sign, but you've got to pay for someone to put the sign out. And then you got to pay to collect the sign afterwards and store the sign to put it back out again. What we do to generate business is expensive. And the last thing we want to do is not utilize tools and resources that we have available to do business again with the same people we've already connected and had a relationship with because of the cost of forming new relationships. Back to my spiral notebook and my Excel spreadsheets. So whenever I transitioned my business and really got serious about storing the information in a way where I get reminders of my favorite people that I really want to reach out to, or reminders of who has a birthday, or reminders of who bought a house a year ago or 5 years ago today that I need to reach out to. My return business totally changed at that point. Because honestly, if people decided that they liked me, then they decided they really loved doing business with us and that they would trust us again. Their intentions are to do business with us again. However, they might get distracted or they might be introduced to someone else along the way. And I worked hard for that relationship the first time. I've spent money on that relationship the first time. And so it just makes sense to do everything I can to take one step further to stay in touch with these folks. So we'll talk about a couple of different ways to do that as we go through this. How many of you guys are already using a CRM to maintain and stay on top of relationships? Okay, that's a really good question. Joe Carolyn asked what a CRM is. So a customer retention management system is your CRM. So a CRM really could be an Excel spreadsheet because it's a customer retention management system. You're putting in the information so you can keep up with all of your clients and customers you've done business with in the past. But in the past, I don't know, CRMs as a software, web-based or stored on your computer software systems have all been around for, the car business has used CRMs for at least 20, 25 years. I've only seen them really a big part of the real estate industry in the last 10 years or so. And it's amazing how many people still don't utilize a CRM the way we're going to talk about it in just a little bit.
I've used one
Forever?
I just didn't know what to name it.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was going to say. So Joe Carolyn uses spreadsheets and she's got tabs. And the one thing about spreadsheets is then it converts to mailing labels really easily. You can sort within a spreadsheet. You can create stats, like for me, when I used an Excel spreadsheet, I color-coded my spreadsheet so that I knew who was in credit counseling, who was house hunting, who was pre-approved in house hunting, who actually had bought a house. You can keep stats. Like really, what's really important to me is for me to know how many referrals you send to me that we get applications on. Because I want you to know with confidence when you send a referral, 90% of your referrals are going to apply for a loan. Now, 50% of the referrals that actually apply for a loan actually get pre-approved. Those stats are really important to me because if that's not happening, then I know that we're either there's something wrong in the system, whether it be follow-up, maybe it's something that we're saying that discourages people from taking that next step, or maybe it's a conversation that you and I need to have on, hey, when you tell them that we're going to call, please be sure they know we need paperwork to get them pre-approved before they get excited about a house. All of this information is stored in a CRM. So now you guys can all sound fancy and say, hey, I got a CRM and it's amazing. All of that information is stored in that CRM. Now, if you do upgrade to an actual web-based CRM or a software-based CRM, they will also send updated reminders. Like the system that we use even reminds us, if I talk to a client today and they're going to send us paperwork tomorrow, then I'm going to set a reminder to call them tomorrow. Well, I'm going to set a reminder to see if I received the paperwork, and if I didn't, to call that customer. So I'm not having to remind on my memory because we all get super busy. So the other thing that is great about actual CRMs as a software is every piece of data you put in can be tracked. So I do encourage you guys, if you don't have a CRM, or if you are ready to next level the automation, the reminders, the automation as in reminders, the automation as in actual mail outs that go out on your behalf, or follow-up emails and text messages that go out on your behalf. There are a lot of different CRM services available. But what I will tell you is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is an overwhelming task if you have not been utilizing a CRM. And we're going to talk about some other things, not because I don't want you to be overwhelmed that you have to have a CRM, though I highly encourage it. And I promise your business will go next level if you commit to putting all of the information into a system, or giving your spreadsheet to somebody who is able to put the information into the system, upload those tests, those lists, and start setting some tasks and set up to follow up with people on a systematic basis. But that elephant is eaten one bite at a time. And first is selecting what CRM you're going to use. I will tell you, the best CRM system you use is the one you actually use. You can get the fanciest CRM, and Guild has one of the top rated CRM programs, Salesforce. But I promise you that we have spent millions, and I'm not exaggerating, of dollars to build it out so that it works for us in the mortgage business. There's a lot of CRMs out there that is built specifically for your business, but you will spend a lot of time putting all of the data in there. But even after Guild has spent millions of dollars to set up our system so that it works effectively and can run all of these reports, like I can tell you, Ben, exactly how many referrals you've sent to us and what the conversion is on every one of those different life cycles with just a click of a button. I can pull up any piece of data and information based on inputs in the system. But again, if you're not putting the information in, you're not going to receive the data. And it just shocks me how many loan officers Guild has. I don't know. I'm just going to guess 1,000 loan officers. And I'm still shocked that there's a pretty large percentage of loan officers still not using our systems, when our systems, my business has increased at least 25. Well, this year, I haven't done the math. I will have closed almost 400 loans this year when 300 is normal. So do the math, what that increase has been. And that increase is directly related to customer retention. Why? Because I stay in touch with my clients. I stay in touch with your clients when they get referred to us, because we have systems put in place. So back to the eating the elephant, that first step is choosing the CRM system that you're going to use and commit to using it. And then the second step is putting the data in the system based on what you have right now. Most CRMs, if you have an Excel spreadsheet, those typically upload into the CRM because you convert them to a file format that's a generic file format. The next step is to, from this point forward, put data in the system every single day. Every time you talk to a client, every time you think about somebody that you need to put in the system and stay in touch with, I oftentimes will do a screenshot and email it to myself to put it in the system the next time I sit down at my computer. So that's the third step, is just use it in a very small manner, which is just put people in there. The fourth step would be to actually set up some of these workflows, set up some of these automated tasks so that you start getting reminders when someone has a birthday. And you decide what you're going to do with that information because everybody is different in what they can and can't manage. The fifth is to actually start putting some drip campaigns. It still surprises me how many people, the open rate on emails is still pretty high. And I'm going to talk to you guys in a few minutes about an amazing way for you guys to start today with one simple upload with a system that we have available as a good first step for you, and then you can take it from there. So the purpose of a CRM is not just to overwhelm you with being all fancy. It is for you to authentically be in a relationship with people that already know, love, and trust you. They trusted you one time with their business. They trusted you one time with their relationship and their friendship or referring business to you. You have some people I know refer business to you that may not have bought a house from you before. You may not have sold their house, but they still love you, they trust you, and they refer you to their friends and family. So how do you stay in touch with them? Is through educational content. You guys, we do this for a living, and some of the things that seem so natural for us is not natural to other people. And I forget that too. A lot of times I use acronyms, or a lot of times my assumption is everybody knows to get pre-approved before you house hunt. And I still get agents calling me and say, hey, can you send me a pre-qualification letter? Well, those of you guys who've gone through my training enough know that there is a huge difference in pre-qualification and pre-approval letter. So then that reminds me as the basic of information to me is not basic to other people. So educate people on what it is that you're passionate about. Every one of you guys sell real estate in a different way. Every one of you market your properties differently. Every one of you show your properties differently. Every one of you have different people that you connect with and prefer to work with. So figure out what you're really good at, what you're really passionate about, and educate people based on that information. Promote those services from a place of authenticity and passion. And then people want to know that this is a huge investment. And it amazes me how many times I get these positive reactions whenever I tell people, listen, what a great deal you just got on this house. And they are like, really? And, you think that they already know that, but just the affirmation that they're making a great decision is a big deal. And so making them feel really important about that real estate investment, I'm going to show you a tool in just a little bit that helps in that area as well. I highly encourage you to use whatever your follow-up system is to create customers for life, that you use it as a tool and not a replacement of a genuine relationship. So one of the services that we use, that we adopted, I think it's been 2 years now. Time goes by so fast. I lose track of it. I think it's been 2 years. There is a service called HomeBot. HomeBot was founded by a realtor who knew the importance of staying in touch with clients. He knew how overwhelmed an agent can be at trying to stay in touch with the client and bringing information of value. He also knew that one thing that the customer wanted to know is that their property is appreciating over time. Or how many people have asked you guys, hey, I'm thinking about putting in a swimming pool. What do you think about that? Or I'm thinking about doing an outdoor kitchen. What do you think about it? Or I'm thinking about remodeling my bathroom. They always want to know what it does to their value, because that is their largest investment that they have probably made and will make. So that was part of the decision that Ernie had made whenever he founded HomeBot. He also knew that consistency was key. And you guys are all really busy. And so trying to come up with the content to share with your customers that was content customers really wanted to hear and see, and do it consistently without it being a lot of work on his part, because he's super busy and you guys don't have a team of 20 people to do all of these things that you would love to do as part of your business. And then just the meaningful engagement. What would cause customers to actually open and engage with information? And that's when he created HomeBot. So engaging in promotion of your service. Listen, the engagement piece of it is so important. If you're providing information, whether it be in a social media post, if you're providing information in an email, if you're sending an actual video out and people don't read it, they don't hear it, they don't see it. I mean, you could post something on social media and 5 people see it. You could send something, you could send a 1,500 piece email out and people not read it. Engagement matters, and engagement requires good subject lines. Engagement a lot of times requires, if you're sending a newsletter these days, it better have a video in it or people aren't going to open it. And you also have to be super careful if you're wanting engagement, you got to make sure it doesn't go to their spam filter where they never see it at all. And then the engagement too, just because they do see your post on social media, if it's not something that's relevant to them right then, they're going to scroll right past it. So engagement is, like you can spend a lot of time putting a lot of great information out there. And if people don't see it, they don't hear it, they don't read it, then it's just a lot of time wasted, right? Some of the things that you can do to ensure engagement is videos. Provide education. So as long as you are known as someone who is passionate and someone who is always educating, people want to hear what you have to say, typically. So be that giver of your talents and your experiences and your ideas and your and your interest in a passionate, authentic way, and be sure you're educating people. So on your social media, and I think for our next journey, I think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about marketing and social media because it is so much a part of our business. A CRM could be, if used correctly, Facebook. I use Facebook as part of my CRM. It's my trigger to know who needs a sympathy card because someone just passed. It's my trigger to know who just had a baby because and I want to send flowers or a card. I can't get that information from my static CRM. My static CRM is just going to tell me when it's their birthdays. So you can and should use social media as also a way for you to have customers for life by staying involved in their life, by paying attention to what's going on in their life. And there's a couple of ways to do that, and we're going to talk about that in more detail in this spring journey to success on how you really stay engaged in social media with your people so that you have customers for life. There's so many different ways that I use social media, actually. It is going to take a couple of classes. But I highly encourage you, when I close a transaction at the end of the month, I take a list of everybody that I just did a loan for, and I friend them on Facebook, and I put them on a separate friends list so I can see what's going on in their life. Because if I don't stay engaged with them and I don't communicate with them on social media, I don't have time to call everybody, but I do have time to pay attention to what's going on in their life. So that CRM, their information is in my static CRM, my Salesforce CRM, but I also am spending the time to put them into a separate friends list on social media so I can stay engaged in what's going on in their life. So let's talk a little bit about HomeBot, and let me explain to you guys what this is. Some of y'all might even choose to use HomeBot in your business. But HomeBot is a newsletter that goes out to your clients once a month. And in that newsletter is so much information. But at the top of the newsletter is their estimated value of your home. Now, don't think that we're replacing your information or your knowledge and your experience of the market, because this is just general estimated values based on, BJ, do you remember? It's like they use the data from 10 different sites. It's not a Zillow estimate is my point. It's not his estimate. So I want to pause there still just for a few more minutes, because I don't want you guys to mentally be blocked on how cool this is because of the challenges that we've all faced with a Zestimate versus a real estimated market value. So I'm just going to help tie all of this in just based on a story. So, and I think I'll even use his name because he even did an interview with me on HomeBot. So I know he doesn't mind because he let me post it public. So we're going to assume that it's okay to even say his name. So Corey Mills is not just a business partner, but he's one of my clients. So he was receiving HomeBot as a client. And I never said anything to him about HomeBot on purpose because I wanted his honest feedback about HomeBot. So I let him receive it for a couple of months before I ever asked him about it. He said the first time he received it, of course he opened it, because you guys, the open rate of an email is, I should have looked the stats up. I don't have them in front of me. But it's a very small percentage of open rates on an email. You have to be very strategic to get someone to open an email, though it's still one of the most effective ways of communicating. It's just hard to get people's attention these days, that's my point. But HomeBot's open rate, and I'll pull up my HomeBot in just a few minutes, and you guys are going to be blown away at the open rate, is like 80%. People open their newsletter every single month that we send to them. So Corey got a couple of these HomeBots, and he kept looking at the value and comparing it, pulling a CMA on his home and comparing it to the HomeBot value. Month after month after month after month, it was pretty right on. Now, you and I know that there could be some sales, and we tell clients this all the time. There could be some sales that took place in your neighborhood that's not representative of your specific property. So for that reason, and it gives us an opportunity to loop you back in as a real estate agent, Joe Carolyn is your trusted real estate advisor. So if you are questioning the value of your home, and it really matters because you're looking at refinancing or you're looking at selling your home, then let's get with Joe Carolyn and have her run an actual CMA. But what's really cool is they even have a button to push. So if they are not sure about the value that's being determined right here, see that button that says want to verify this? They'll click that button. I'll get an email. Now, several real estate agents also have signed up for this service with me. So they get an email and I get an email that says so-and-so is questioning their value. Please put together a CMA and send it to them. I don't do CMAs. So the good news is, even if you aren't signed up with me, I will be reaching out to you and saying, hey, so-and-so is questioning their value. Can you please put a CMA, blah, blah, blah. Of course, it'll be more elaborate than that, and I'll connect dots and make sure that there's a story to tell in there. But that is, I think, one of the biggest reasons that people always open their HomeBot is because they're curious about their values. It's their largest investment. And they want to really know that they're building wealth over time. Again, I don't have the stat in my head, but at retirement, equity in your home is to statistically, nationwide, your biggest your largest amount of equity. That's what people have for a savings account in a lot of cases. So they're really curious about how their house is appreciating over time at every stage of their life. Of course, when they're younger, they're trying to build equity because they may be looking at moving up and they want to know, what's my house worth? So that's some of the information that's super important. They also always want to know, if I were to remodel my house and I spend this money, what's it going to do to the value? There's buttons they push, questions they ask. And when they do, I get an email and I get to reach out to you and say, hey, so-and-so's thinking about, upgrading their kitchen. That's your field of expertise. Can you tell them what the consumer is looking for and how that might change any value in their home? Insurance and tax information, all of this information matters to the value of their home and the information that is provided. I'm going to show you some other really cool stuff in here. But the fact that you have all of this automation that is available in this system, and it's all done on your behalf, and the client can engage with you with a click of a button, you get an email and you can engage with them right after that. The system's also built so that you can keep track with how many people are. You may not hear from the client, but you want to know that they're actually using the information, that it's helpful to them. There's a scoring system built in there. There's they're constantly paying attention to the trends and what people are asking for, clicking on, and researching so that they can update the system and make sure that the information is still relevant from an engaging standpoint. And then all of the communication sources are included in there. So you've got your consumer, you got us as a loan officer, and you've got you as the real estate agent. It allows us to all stay connected in an easy way. Now, that is not the only information that is in there and available. So also in the HomeBot, and I'm going to pop over to the screen in just a few minutes. If the customer is thinking that, hey, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to just lease out this house and go buy a new house, it shows them what rents are for a house compared to theirs further down in the screen, so they can see what the rent values are. But the second to the value, the section that's used the most is it has a way for people to see, we want them building wealth. We want them to gain equity in their home. And people often ask, not always, if I added $50 to my payment, how much money will I save? How much sooner will I have my house paid off? It's a sliding scale. They can put that information in there and it automatically calculates how much their savings would be in interest. And it'll automatically calculate for them how much sooner they will pay off their home. The other section that is super important is it will always tell them real time what interest rates are running. And it will always calculate for them if they were to refinance at, a 30-year, a 15-year, or a 10-year, what the new payment would be and how much money they would save. So they can pay attention to break even. Because a lot of times the cost of refinance is not worth the savings. And it will red light, green light them so they actually have that information. There's so much more information that is in here that they receive once a month. This is educational content that they receive and they get used to looking out for that gives them valuable information. Now, another way you can use this system when you're having open houses, when you can have open houses, you've got some of your looky-loo neighbors. They just want to come through the house and see what their neighbor's house looks like inside. They want to see, how much it's being sold for or what it's listed at and how it compares to their home, right? That's pretty typical. You got your nosy neighbors. Everybody does. They don't want to fill out any information for you because they don't want you following up on them because they're not interested in buying their house. Now, you and I know that they are really a good prospect for you if you can get their information, because you never know when their mind might change. You never know when family circumstances might change and they need to sell their home. And if they know you because they met you and they decide they really like you because they had a short conversation with you, and then over time they learn to trust you, they might actually call you whenever they are ready to sell their house or look at a new house. So still getting their information is super important. So one way that you can get their information and put it in a CRM so you have a way of tracking them and keeping up with them is to have them offer to provide them this newsletter, this analysis that shows them what their house might be worth and all of the other valuable information. Because of national databases set up like they are, when they put their address in, or you put the address in for them, either way, it will pull up any outstanding mortgage loans that they have on their house. It's automatic. It's in the mirror system. So when that pulls in, then it automatically calculates their equity. And now all of a sudden they get this newsletter from you every single month showing how they're building equity in their home based on market values in their neighborhood, based on the data that is pulled from all of these different sources, which includes Freddie Mac's information, all of the public records, MLS, and all of the other data. So it's all of the information that they would like to have at their fingertip. And it tells them all of the other information that we just had. So it turns your open houses, your nosy neighbor looky-loos, into somebody who really might be a client for you. And hopefully a client for life because they met you at an open house and you offered educational content about something that matters to them, which is the equity and the wealth they're building in their home, right? So, and that is just a matter of you texting them a link to HomeBuy. And then they put their information in, or you can manually put the information in if you want to do that yourself. Okay. So here's what the system looks like. Let me go back to share mode so you guys can see. Again, this isn't all about, I mean, this is a free service to you guys for the next, I don't know, I can't remember. I know it was through this year. It might even be through next year. This is a free service. My point's not to sell you guys anything. My point is get on something and use it. And again, whether it's complicated, whether it's simple, it doesn't matter as long as you're using it. Start simple and eat that elephant one bite at a time, which is just put what data you have into a system that sends you reminders so that you know when to reach out to people. And then add people as you go. You can get complicated and use it at the next level and do one level, just 1+. When I say 1+, whatever you're doing right now, add one thing to it. And then the next thing you know, if your goal is to get from here to here, but you give yourself 12 months to do it, and every single month you add something to what your process and system is to get you here, is the best way for you to get from here to here. You can't do it all in one day. You just got to break it down. So this shows out of 1,161 newsletters sent out, 69% of them opened it. 57% actually clicked on the value of their home. I'm telling you, people want to know what their house is worth every single month. Now, what's super cool is I could get really fancy and I can go in here to all of these people, and I'm going to show you something else that's really cool in a minute. I can record a video specifically to any of these clients that opened it up and said, hey, I just noticed that your house increased in value this last month pretty significantly. Do you have any questions about that? Because I'd be happy to talk to you if I were an agent. I'd be happy to talk to you about what's changed in your neighborhood to increase the value of your home so much. Now might be a really good time to look into refinancing, or because you would have the information. You could say, hey, now might be the time to refinance and get out of that FHA loan and get into a conventional loan without mortgage insurance. Or now might be a great time if you guys are thinking about doing some improvements to your property, or if you have any questions and are thinking, if the home no longer suits your needs, now might be a really great time to sell it. You can have those conversations because you're looking at it right here. How long does it take to do a CMA?
5 minutes.
Okay. Well, 5 minutes.
A really basic one.
Well, so you save 5 minutes per client, but just by opening this up, once you learn to trust the data, knowing that you're just looking at the data quickly, and if it doesn't look right, you can do a real CMA. But, so this right here shows you, we get a report once a week on Mondays that tells us who is the top 10 most active on here, like who's gone in here multiple times and clicked on different things within the system, because those are good touch points. Like if these people were in here clicking around, then those are people that are thinking about something that's related to either their mortgage loan or related to their home itself. They're either thinking improvements, they're thinking about refinancing, they're thinking about selling, or they're just curious what their value is worth. Whatever the reason is, these people clicking in the system need to be contacted. And I get an email on Mondays that tells me the top 10 most active people. Then I can click in here and see who else has been clicking around in the system. And I can choose to do a random check-in, or I can choose to pick up the phone and say, hey, I see that you've been in HomeBot clicking around. Do you have any questions? However, within the system is several different, click of a button and I get an email. So it says thinking about home improvements, click here. Thinking about paying your loan off early, click here. Thinking about renting your house, click here. So it causes it causes the emails to come to me. But if I didn't want to rely on those emails, I could go straight to here and see what's going on. So if you're not doing a fancy CRM and you're just doing a spreadsheet, that's perfectly fine. Just know and understand, if you want to take it to next level, there's a couple of different ways to do it. HomeBot's one way because you're going to get the triggers. You're going to get something going out to them on a consistent basis with information that's educational. It allows them to engage, and it's just content that's important to them. If you're not going to do that, then get everybody set up on social media so that you're engaging that way and you know what's going on in their life. So you have some triggers on how to engage with them and be customers for life. If you are going to take that big leap and get onto a formal CRM, a fancy CRM, do it one step at a time and give yourself 2021 to make it happen. If you need guidance, you need nudges, you need reminders, let me know and I'll set in my system a task to reach back out to you and say, hey, how you coming on getting your CRM up and running? How you coming on getting your CRM up and running? What are you working on that I can help you with? I can do that because my CRM will allow me to send reminders, because I am not going to be trusting my brain to remind me to remind you to get it going. But there's so many different ways to do it. But the point is, again, Ben, to your point, work smarter, not harder. And a CRM allows you to do that, to stay engaged and create customers for life. But you have to just take that step and do one step at a time to build a system to help you work smarter, not harder, to create these customers for life. And it starts with just that first step. So I don't want you guys to leave this overwhelmed going, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do that, because you can. You just got to decide what it is you want to do. And then we got to figure out what your first step is. And then we got to figure out your second step. and really not even worry about the second step until you finish the first step. And when you get that first step done, then we'll talk about what the second step is. And we'll work on the second step. And don't get discouraged because, listen, BJ, I tell this story over and over, and I did a video on this story to someone who reached out to me yesterday. And BJ's going to laugh because, when somebody tells you something and they were probably just saying it in passing, but it really stuck with you. So I'm going to give you my juggling demonstration and analogy to all of this. So if you decide that CRM, you really want to have customers for life, clients for life, you don't want to have to continue to pay and work so hard to get new clients when you have hundreds already you've done business with for the last 20 years. Or Eli, in this point in your life, and Joshua, same thing for you. You guys are newer to the business. But I promise, if you sat down and you made a list of people that you know that need to know that you are now in real estate, you could probably put together a list of 50 people in a couple of days and probably expand that to 100 people that need to go into your CRM that you need to stay in touch with so that they remember what you do for a living and that you are here to serve. So here's my story for you guys. If you decided that this is what you wanted to do, your first step is that one ball. So let's just pretend that you decided that you were going to learn to juggle today. So this is what you were this is your juggling, right? So you're juggling a ball, right? One ball at a time. And you get that ball in your hand and you get this flow and you get this rhythm and you got this. You may drop that ball, but when you do, you're going to pick the ball back up and you're going to get back into the rhythm and the flow. And you get really, really comfortable with that one thing. Don't give yourself a timeline. Give yourself a task to get comfortable juggling this one ball. Once you get comfortable with that one ball, then you can add the second ball. And you start juggling that second ball. And you get really, really comfortable juggling two balls. Juggling two balls is pretty hard. But you get it down and it becomes just as easy as the one ball. You may drop one ball. You may drop both balls. It's okay. Pick the ball back up and start juggling again. And add that third ball when you get comfortable. And you just keep adding and you keep adding and you keep adding. And then next thing you know, you get asked to join the circus because you're so good at juggling. It's just one ball at a time. So you guys decide what your one ball is going to be to create customers for life because you're staying engaged, you're staying in a relationship that is authentic and true to what you do really well, what you feel passionate about, and you provide education and stay in touch with these folks. So if you guys are interested in HomeBot, I can put you in touch with the HomeBot rep. You will actually, like for Joe Carolyn, who has everything in a spreadsheet already, she would upload that information and it would automatically get set up. For those of you guys who don't have that information, you've got it on pen and paper and you got it in spiral notepads. We'll actually have to manually put that information in. And I don't know, surely we can find a high school student that can type information in for a little bit of money, and I can help you guys find someone to get going, and that be your first ball. And then after that, it's a matter of adding people as you go. And the best way to do that is to put it on your calendar on maybe the 5th or the first Friday of every month. You're going to enter everybody from the previous month, or maybe you add them as you go, because you're doing screenshots and sending an email to yourself or whatever your system is. The point is, again, if you're not going to use it, don't sign up. So the first step is decide what you're going to use. The second step is to decide what that step is going to be and do it consistently. And then just add a ball to it. Even if you don't use HomeBot, know that every one of your clients is getting a HomeBot. And when they reach out to us, because our system is so intuitive, I'm going to bring you into the loop. I'm going to loop you in. But just so you have an idea what all our system I mean, I'm telling you, I can track any and everything at all times, and this is what our system looks like. So it's all in here. So like, for instance, Ben, I keep picking on you because I just know that I know that you're okay with that. I'm hoping you're okay with that.
I'm okay with it. I know you love me.
I do. So I can go in here to Ben. Oh, we have a loan officer named Ben too. And I can go in here to any of his referrals right here. If Ben says, hey, you remember so-and-so that I talked to last year? His name was blah, blah, blah. We can go in here and we can say, oh, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. And I can pull up the information and I can tell you exactly what's going on with each one of them, what our conversation has been every step of the way, when we reached out to them, what time we reached out to them, and then what our next task is to reach out to them again. Because every time we complete a task, we always reset a task, because otherwise we forget people. If you guys decided, and if you're new to the business, that we talk to every one of your clients ever, even if they have another lender, you just tell them, hey, I know you've already got someone and I'm sure they're totally awesome, but would you still please just talk to my people? Because I can trust them, for blah, 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 great communication. I know they're going to, whatever your story is, I could tell you what you should tell them. But